Good morning. I'm Erwin Chemerinsky, and I'm incredibly fortunate to be the Dean of the University of California, Irvine School of Law. We are here today to bestow the degree of Juris Doctor on 94 wonderful men and women, the University of California, Irvine School of Law, class of 2017. This is an occasion to celebrate their hard work and their accomplishments, which now qualify each of them to join the profession that's responsible for ensuring justice in our society. None of us, not as individuals or as an institution, got here on our own. I think it's only appropriate to begin by recognizing and thanking so many of who got us to this point in time. First, each of our graduates was helped enormously before and during law school by parents, by partners and spouses, and by children. You've guided the graduates and been there for them through the hard work and ups and downs that are inherent to law school. You provided financial support, emotional support, and love. I'd like to ask all of the parents, partners and spouses, and children of the graduates to stand. And I'd like the class of 2017 and everyone here to join in thanking them. Every aspect of this law school is implemented by a tremendously talented group of administrators and staff. I've been a law professor now for 37 years at several different law schools, and this is by far the most talented and best group of administrators and staff I've ever seen. Most of all, they are oriented to our students and to providing them the best possible educational experience. I'd like to ask my associate and assistant deans, all the librarians, administrators, and staff of UCI Law School to rise so we can thank them. Ultimately, the quality of any school is a product of two key components: the students and the faculty. These 47 men and women are full-time faculty, have taught the class of 2017 in the classrooms, in their offices, in their halls, and even their homes. They have imparted great knowledge of the law and hopefully wisdom and inspiration as well. By every standard and measure, it is a terrific faculty, and I'm so very proud to be a part of it. You might have seen a study that ranked law school faculties in terms of scholarly impact. UCI Law School's faculty was ranked 6th in the country behind Yale, Harvard, University of Chicago, NYU, and Stanford. We're ranked just ahead of schools such as Columbia, Berkeley, and Duke. And I believe that if there were ranking of faculty in terms of teaching, we would be rated even higher. I would like to ask my colleagues, the faculty of the University of California, Irvine School of Law, to rise and be recognized. By any and by all measures, our law school is succeeding wonderfully. Above all, those most responsible for our successes have been the chancellors and the provosts of the University of California, Irvine. They have provided the support and the resources that have been essential for our success. I want to introduce you to a very special member of the law school faculty, the Chancellor of the University of California, Irvine, Howard Gilman. Chancellor Gilman came to UCI in 2013 to be our provost after a distinguished career at the University of Southern California, where he was a political science professor, chair of the political science department, and dean of the Dornsife College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences. His scholarly focus on constitutional law and constitutional history. I was thrilled when he came to UCI and when he chose the law school for his primary academic appointment. In 2014, University of California President Janet Napolitano made the incredibly wise choice of naming Howard Gilman as our chancellor. He is a wonderful supporter of this law school. So I want to introduce you to my dear friend, my co-teacher and co-author, and my boss, Howard Gilman.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Dean Chemerinsky, and good morning to you all. What a tremendous day. It is the culmination of years of dreaming, planning, so many long days and late nights, sacrifices, setbacks that were overcome, a long journey, a very high mountaintop. And graduates, here you are. I hope you will take a moment to breathe, a sigh of relief, and appreciate the magnitude of your accomplishment. To all of those assembled here today, let there be no doubt, the women and men of the class of 2017 will have a lasting and powerful impact on their profession and their communities for what they have already accomplished and what they will be accomplishing in the years ahead. Please join me in honoring them with a tremendous round of applause. It's not going to be the last one. Don't worry, you'll get. Dean Chemerinsky acknowledged many important people and groups of people who allowed you all to be here and succeed and celebrate this day. But there is one other person I would like to single out for special acknowledgement, a person I have known and admired for decades and who I am proud to call my friend. Will you all please join me in recognizing and thanking for his leadership and service the founding dean of the School of Law, Dean Erwin Chemerinsky. His latest book will be out in the next few months. Graduates, you understand that there is glory in the law only insofar as law becomes the vehicle through which a free and democratic people realize their highest aspirations for justice and the promotion of the public interest. You are here to ensure the nobility and honor of the profession, and that is a tremendous thing. For the sake of all of us, and for the sake of the very idea of the rule of law as an unqualified human good, I urge you to make decisions as professionals that gives the law the glory it deserves. Connect it to the interests of the people. Connect it to justice. Connect it to truth. Connect it to our highest aspirations. Never become a tool in service of arbitrary power. You are rightfully viewed as leaders of the legal profession in one of the world's great democracies. You have no more important responsibility than to get this right. We are counting on you, and we know that we can count on you. And so once again, congratulations. We are very proud of you, and on behalf of the entire UCI community, we wish you the very best. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chancellor Gilman, for the kind recognition and those very wise words. It is our tradition to have the graduating students choose a classmate to deliver remarks. And the class of 2017 made a very wise choice and selected Julie Hartlé. Julie graduated from Wellesley College in 2000. She's immersed herself in many different cultures. She speaks Mandarin Chinese, French, and Spanish. She's lived in Taiwan, attended an intensive French course at the Sorbonne, honed her Spanish in Guatemala, where she volunteered in a domestic violence shelter with women and children at risk of human trafficking. During her time in law school, she worked on 7 different pro bono projects, focusing her attention on the areas of law that most affect the poor and the underserved: homelessness, abuse against low-income workers, DACA recipients, those seeking citizenship, housing rights. She completed an astounding 263 hours of pro bono work during her time of law school. In addition to her extensive pro bono work at UCI Law, Julie has championed work-life balance issues on campus. She's the founder and leader of the Student Mental Health and Wellness Association. I think you can see why her classmates chose her to speak today.
All right. All right, so I figured we were taking appearances, right? I'm Julie Hartlé on behalf of the UCI Law class of 2017. We are definitely the petitioners. It's been really lovely to spend these last 3 years with you, to share this space with you. More than I expected. When I decided to go to law school, everyone, most of my friends, and especially my friends who were lawyers, were like, this is the worst decision you have ever made. It's awful. It's 3 years of hazing, you know, like, it's going to be terrible. Why are you doing this? So we had all these exit strategies. And it has been kind of a hazing experience, so you can hold on to your, like, schadenfreude, you know. It's not like, but it has also been really interesting and full of philosophically complicated issues and even kind of fun sometimes. And I value so much in this class. I value our camaraderie. I mean, I really like most of you as people, which I think is a statistical like anomaly or something, right? But you're very kind, you know, you work well together and share. So, you know, you're really good at preschool. Sorry. They're good, solid human qualities, though, okay? But another thing I really appreciated about all of you is your feistiness. You agitate, you speak up. We've raised our voices, not only for ourselves, but for other people in the community and for the classes coming after us. And I think that shows a real generosity of spirit, and it's really valuable. So as we head into our careers, I am hoping that we will retain that sense of feistiness and of not blithely accepting the terms that are dictated to us. Because it does sometimes feel like in training to be successful in the legal profession, we are taught to be dangerously obeisant and unquestioning of people in power. Whether it be supervising attorneys, partners, judges, these are normal, flawed people. And when they do things that don't meet normal standards of human decency, we need to speak up about it. And if they try and police what you're wearing, or they give you a morally questionable assignment, I hope you'll express yourselves, not only for yourself, but for other people around you. You've already been doing it, and I hope you will keep doing that. I think one of the most challenging things about law school is we learn how much needs to be done to achieve justice. There's like a disillusionment that can happen, and we all have different experiences with that. I know one of my most formative ones was in my race in the criminal justice system class. You know, we were tracking the history of race in the criminal justice system, and it was this overwhelming problem that we were looking at, and we were looking at it through a constitutional lens sometimes, and it was like the Constitution was created by people that thought it was okay to make a 3/5 compromise, you know, that thought it was okay to build our economy on like the back of human trafficking, and never paid reparations, didn't apologize, instead like filtered them into a Jim Crow legal system that then filtered them back into jail and prison where slavery is still legal, right? And the Constitution didn't prevent these injustices. And while the Constitution, I can't believe I'm gonna say this so tritely, it's great, but it can be improved, it can be rectified, and we can do it. And I wanted to acknowledge that we have people who are going to be fearless public defenders, Megan and Allie and Evan, John. You are jumping into a morass of Fourth Amendment jurisprudence. I'm very sorry for that. And we will be supporting you in that fight. And I wanted to acknowledge, so I actually, in the first version of this speech, I sat and listed all of you out and all the great things that I knew about you, and it was taking 30 minutes. So it was totally unwieldy, couldn't do it. Great, which is obviously a great problem to have, but I do want all of you loved ones to know some of the great things that people have done during our hazing experience, have managed to make the world a much better place. So, and you certainly helped me get out of bed and face life when it doesn't seem super great. So I know, for instance, the environmental clinic, I know you work on environmental justice, environmental racism. Those of you in NALSA, you were protesting for water protection. I know some of you were doing habeas petitions like crazy. The people in the Workers' Rights Clinic were preventing wage theft and protecting people. People in the Social Security Clinic were helping people get life-saving resources. Those of you in CARES would go to the social services office and make sure that people weren't falling through the cracks. The Immigrant Rights Clinic with Samir and Annie, as soon as those totally racist and xenophobic executive orders came out, you were at the airport protesting, you were at city council meetings advocating for universal representation, you were dropping your other work to do bond hearings and get people out of immigration detention, and it was so inspiring. In the Transgender Legal Assistance Clinic, you were putting in extra hours to help process the extra applications that were there. The If, When, How members were writing op-eds and, doing phone banking. And the people in the domestic violence clinic get a special shout out because I did domestic violence intake 5 times, and the 5th time I cried 24 hours straight. And that couldn't do it. So you are kind of magical to me. And I'm very religious, so to me you guys look like God's hand in the world. But if you're not religious, you can think of something equally grandiose and imagine yourself as that, okay? And I want to thank you so much for all of your hard work. You've worked so hard. You humble me completely with all of your hard work. But I do want to talk about that for just a second. Ever since I was a teenager, I've had this really morbid fascination with end-of-life studies because I always want to know, what do people regret at the end of their lives? I don't want to have those regrets. I want to have different regrets. It's okay to regret. I want to have different ones. And so every year, I'll look at new studies, I'm excited. What are we regretting now? What am I going to change? And it's really depressing and boring because we always regret the same things as Americans. We regret working too hard and being too busy, neglecting our family and friends and not having deep relationships, and caring too much about what other people think of us. And unfortunately, it's very alarming to me that the way it seems like we're supposed to be successful in law is kind of like a golden funnel towards life regret, right? Because being really busy and having no time makes us important, right? And caring a lot about image and network and everything also, is so and I don't want that for you. It's pretty anathema for me to give any kind of life advice because I don't have my life together at all. But I do feel pretty confident about this piece of advice, which is that I hope you will sometimes sacrifice and be slightly less great lawyers so that you can be really great lovers. I know, yeah. Woo. And I can tell you this because I've followed this. I have sacrificed levels of success, and I've come back. I'm like a complete nomad, and I love traveling and learning things. But I always come back to my family and to my community to make sure that the love that we have is strong. And my friends, yeah, because yeah. As much as you guys all inspire me, they're the ones who make me brave. And they allow me to take risks when I'm terrified, and I am always terrified, always. And I know I can trust in the strength and the love that we have built over time. And it's something that like no boss or law or court could ever touch. And it's really important, and it's exciting, and it's hard, and it's fulfilling, and I really want that for you. So, yes. And for some of us, practicing law is an act of love to our community, but it doesn't stand in for births and weddings and tobogganing down the Great Wall with your awesome nephew, Owen. Hey-oh. So yeah, I hope you'll be great at practicing law. I hope you will be better at practicing love. I'm sorry, that's so cheesy. I was told I had to work cheese into the speech and that flinging brie off the stage was inappropriate. So, all right. So I wanted to end with a poem because my mom, ever since I was a kid, has always referred to my books as my friends, like as if they were humans, you know, like how many of your friends have you packed for vacation? So I wasn't gonna miss a chance to read, you know, from one of my friends. And so this is my little blessing to you, all right? This is called An Anthem by Sonia Sanchez. Our vision is our voice. We cut through the country where madmen goose-step in tune to Guernica. We are people made of fire. We walk with ceremonial breaths. We have condemned talking mouths. We run without legs. We see without eyes. Loud laughter breaks over our heads. Give me courage so I can spread it over my face and mouth. We are secret rivers with shaking hips and crests come awaken our thunder so that eyes can see behind trees. For the world is split wide open, and you hide your hands behind your backs. For the world is broken into little pieces, and you beg with tin cups for life. Are we not more than hunger and music? Are we not more than harlequins and horns? Are we not more than color and drums? Are we not more than anger and dance? Give me courage so I can spread it over my face and mouth. We are the shakers, walking from top to bottom in a day. We are like Shango, involving ourselves in acts that bring life to the middle of our stomachs. We are coming towards you, madmen, shredding your death talk, standing in front with mournings around our waist. We have inherited our prayers from the rain, our eyes from the children of Soweto. Red rain pours over the land, and our fire mixes with the water. Give me courage so I can spread it over my face and mouth. All right, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. This year we begin a new tradition at UCI Law School. Many of the graduating students came to me and asked if they could choose a faculty member to speak. I thought this was a terrific idea. Actually, since this is a law school and process is highly valued, they devised a careful process where first the students voted on whether to have a faculty speaker and then on who to ask. They made a terrific choice and selected Mark Rosenbaum. Mark is an unusual professor because he's a full-time lawyer who also has a full-time teaching load. In fact, for over 20 years, Mark did this at the University of Michigan, practicing law full-time in Los Angeles and commuting to Ann Arbor to teach his classes. After much persuasion, I convinced him that even though the drive from Los Angeles to Orange County is difficult, it usually will take less time than the trip to Ann Arbor. In addition to teaching at UCI Law School, Mark is director of Public Counsel's Opportunity Under Law program, which aims to eliminate economic injustice. Before going to Public Counsel, Mark spent over 40 years as a lawyer at the American Civil Liberties Union of Southern California, including as its legal director. Mark has been principal counsel in landmark cases in areas of K-12, public and higher education, voting rights, poverty law and homelessness, racial, gender, class, and sexual orientation discrimination, health care, immigrants' rights, foster care, and criminal defendants' rights. Simply put, and this is not hyperbole, Mark is the best lawyer I have ever seen or worked with. Mark is a graduate of the University of Michigan and of Harvard Law School. He taught many of these students in their first year and many in upper-level classes. And so it's with great pleasure that I introduce my colleague and my close friend, Mark Rosenbaum.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. Actually, the drive is longer than the flight to Detroit. Chancellor Gilman, Dean Chemerinsky, let me just say Irwin, lots of people are responsible for today, but no one is due more thanks than you for this vision. Thank you on behalf of all of us. Judge Kozinski, administrators, faculty and staff, alumni, families and friends of the class of 2017, about to be graduates of the class of 2017. I didn't even go to my law school graduation. After my last exam, I went back to my place, finished packing up, and drove straight out to Los Angeles to take the bar and to begin work. So quite truthfully, like most of you, I suppose, this is my first law school commencement speech. But it's going to be a very different experience for me than it will be for you, because I can't text during it. I had the privilege a few weeks ago of being in the company of John Lewis. Over the course of a day, Congressman Lewis was asked repeatedly what lessons he drew from his experiences as a civil rights activist. What lessons did he think were relevant in these current, very mean times? Congressman Lewis said, "You have to find a way to get in the way." These are vital words today. These are such terrible times for which this class, you are privileged to be becoming a lawyer, to do your part in accomplishing justice. But as awful as these times are, as life-defying injustice, that life-defying injustice did not begin on January 20th. It was our failings, our complacencies, our generations that got us to this place, and I hope that you will not repeat our shortcomings. And I don't think that anybody on this stage believes that you will. Top-tier law schools are a dime a dozen, or maybe better, a dime a tier. But it is your legacy, our collective achievement, that you are graduating from a top-tier justice school. Learning and practicing law is one thing, learning and practicing justice another. And in thinking about justice, therefore, don't overthink it. Look out there, be out there, and listen. Listen. There is too much training in law school about the value of talking, not enough about the values of listening. Listen as you would to your lover. If you are not part of the communities that have gotten or are getting the short end of it, then get very close to those communities. Being treated that way, getting the short end of it, That's no accident. Injustice is not a coincidence. It's not an unfortunate mistake. Injustice is deliberate. It is not an unintended consequence. And if you are listening, really listening, then you already know that. And justice is not merely the absence of injustice. You know that in your own lives, in the lives of those with whom you are already close. And if you are to fight for justice, if you are to make justice, then you must insist upon the same definition of justice for all lives. The hope of every faculty member on this stage is that we have assisted you in some way in affirming the reason that you came to law school in the first place, that you came to UCI in particular. You could have gone to another top-tier school. So could this faculty. But we're here this morning together because of a shared life mission. A mission that your families long ago set each of you upon. We hope that in some tangible way that we have helped you to the realization that lawyering is about the head, but the head cannot do it alone. Pascal said that the heart knows reasons which reason knows nothing of. It must be the head, along with the heart and the hand. You are creative, soulful, passionate individuals. You were before we met you, and you cannot fulfill your destinies if you separate these parts of yourselves from the lawyer parts. Don't regard becoming a justice lawyer as missionary work. It is not. We need one another. We need one another. It's how we're going to get through this. Don't become a justice lawyer for the sake of others. Do it for your sake. In helping to give voice to the marginalized, the scapegoated, the demonized, the vilified, you will find your own true voice. You know that the war is on. They want to take the courts away from the people. That vicious war is indeed on. And it is scarcely being waged just through early morning demented tweets. It began, I suppose, the day the Senate majority, well before the last election, refused to consider, let alone confirm, nominees at all federal court levels, including the Supreme Court. Trashed our sacred constitutional traditions of replenishing the bench. The haves don't need the courts in the same way that the have-nots do, but the haves don't want to take any chances, so they want them to, all to themselves. They preach that the courts are not change agents in a democracy, but their actions belie their talking points. You as lawyers are about to occupy a special role in this struggle, and you must not be passive. You know that the glorious gains of Brown and Miranda and VMI and Plyler and Nixon and Griswold and Obergefell, those gains would not have occurred without access to courts with an ear to the ground and courage in the heart. Those gains would not have occurred otherwise, or not until so much more unholy suffering would have taken place. And you know, too, that it was not lawyers who triumphed, who strategically, by themselves alone, found a way to creatively, soulfully, humanistically get to justice, but rather lawyers working closely with individuals and communities privileged, and it is a privilege to be permitted to share a part of it, to be let into the great civil rights struggles of their generations. You cannot let them destroy the courts, or they will do cruel damage if we, if you, if us, if we all do not find a way to get in the way now. As I think many of you know, I'm one of the lawyers in a federal civil rights action in Detroit on behalf of students there, students who are compelled to attend schools in buildings without teachers, without books, without core curricula, without enough seats or desks in classrooms, where temperatures in those classrooms are often below freezing or above 90 degrees, where rats and mice and other vermin have the run of the place. Young people who, through no fault or failure of their own, trapped by race and class and zip code, such that they cannot read, cannot learn as they so desperately desire to. Students just like you and your siblings. Students just like you in all the ways that matter deep down. Walled out from the stated aspirations and the institutions of our democracy. School after school in Detroit and in far too many other places in this nation as well. And of course, these are schools in name only. These are students seeking merely a right of access to literacy, a right of equal educational opportunity at its most basic level, just at the ground floor, having to deal with conditions that would not satisfy Plessy. 63 years after Brown next week, nearly 150 years after the 14th Amendment was ratified. At a symposium about this case a few weeks back at Harvard, a teacher from one of these schools began her presentation by reading Maya Angelou's Still I Rise. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. However you choose to do so, to whatever degree you can, it is your turn to rise. Have fun, good luck, enjoy your day. You should take the day off. Congratulations to your extraordinary families. Congratulations to all of you. I wish you well.
Mark, thank you so much for those powerful and wonderful words. It is a tradition at commencements to invite a person of great distinction to address the graduates. We could not possibly have a more distinguished speaker, the Honorable Alex Kozinski, Judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. Alex Kozinski was born in Bucharest, Romania. When he was 12, his parents, both Holocaust survivors, brought him to the United States. Judge Kozinski is a graduate of UCLA and UCI Law School. After graduation, he clerked on the United States Court of Appeals for then Judge Anthony Kennedy, and then on the United States Supreme Court for the Chief Justice, Warren Burger. After just 5 years as a lawyer, Judge Kozinski was appointed Chief Judge at the newly formed United States Court of Federal Claims. In 1985, at the age of 35, Judge Kozinski was appointed to the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit by President Ronald Reagan, making him the youngest federal court of appeals judge at the time of appointment. He served as chief judge of the Ninth Circuit from 2007 to 2014. He's a brilliant judge and a superb writer. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce you to this year's commencement speaker, Judge Alex Kozinski.
Good afternoon, or good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Chancellor Gilman, Dean Chemerinsky, professors, graduates, families, friends of the UC Irvine Law School. Before I begin my remarks, I do want to pay tribute to Erwin, my good friend. We met appropriately enough at an ACLU event many years ago, and from the first minute I met him, I was bathed, I think that's the word I would use, in his warmth and friendship, and I have been very grateful for this. Please join me in giving one more accolade to the founding dean. It is an honor and a pleasure to be, for me to be here on this festive occasion. A license to practice law is a tool. It can be a very powerful tool because it allows you to harness the power and majesty of the American legal system to serve the interests of those clients, of your clients, and causes that you choose to serve. It is a tool that must be used wisely and ethically, ever mindful that the law can be a dangerous instrumentality, and if abused or used recklessly, can cause a great deal of pain and suffering. At the same time, wise and effective use of the legal process can put your client, no matter how humble or poor or disadvantaged, on an even par with the most powerful person or corporation. Now, no doubt what you, the graduating class, have been taught in law school is the importance of winning cases. And what I'd like to do today is to round out that education by giving you the lesson you probably did not learn, and that is how to lose a case. And since I'm an appellate judge, I'm going to teach you how to lose a case on appeal. I bet none of you professors bothered with that. Now, you may well wonder, why would you ever want to lose a case? Well, that's a very good question, but history provides at least one well-known example of this. It happened right after Lyndon Johnson's Senate primary campaign in 1948. Now, we're talking about the heyday of good old boy politics when a Texan so cherished his right to vote that he exercised as often as possible, usually in the same election. Anyway, some of LBJ's boys got caught with their fingers in the ballot box, and a federal judge issued an injunction keeping Johnson off the ballot. Naturally, LBJ was against it, so he ordered his boys to figure out a way to get rid of a little old injunction. The problem was the case was going to go to the Fifth Circuit, and they were going to just sit on it until it was too late. So one of LBJ's boys, a fellow by the name of Abe Fortas, some of you may have heard of him, came up with a creative solution. Throw the appeal. Why take a chance of what some crotchety Fifth Circuit judge would do when they could lose the appeal, go to the Supreme Court, Justice Black would issue a stay, and LBJ would get back on the ballot. So old Abe wrote a stinker of a brief, and he found the most crotchety Fifth Circuit judge he could, presented it got rejected immediately. Case went to the Supreme Court. Justice Black did issue the injunction. LBJ was put back on the ballot. He was elected to the Senate and eventually became president and put Abe Fortas on the Supreme Court. Now, I know that every one of you here has Supreme Court ambitions. Don't try to deny it. So when that once-in-a-lifetime career opportunity comes along, are you going to know what to do the pooch? Now, not to worry, I'm here to tell you that you too can lose an appeal no matter how good your case. But don't try to improvise. What I'm about to give you is a tried and true stuff learned over 30 years of experience. Now, first you want to start by telling the judges right up front that you have a rotten case. Now, the best way to do this is to file a fat brief. This lets the judges know right away that you don't have an argument that's capable of being presented in a simple, direct, and persuasive fashion. When judges see a lot of words on paper, they immediately think loser, loser. You know, you might as well just put it on the brief, losing brief on appeal. Well, but let's say, nevertheless, judges nevertheless read the brief and find a winning argument in there. Well, don't stop with step one. Go to step two. Having followed step one, you already have a fat brief, so your winning argument be conveniently hidden amongst a lot of losers. So hopefully the judge will never see it. Still, there are law clerks, and some of them are quite diligent, particularly the ones from UCI, I must say. I want to acknowledge Ann Conley, my UCI law clerk, who is somewhere in the audience here. Ann? Anyway, so eager beaver law clerks don't come along every time, but still it's a risk, So what if a clerk, maybe even the judge, should happen to stumble onto your winning argument? Well, to guard against this risk, winning arguments should not only be buried, they should also be written in a way as to be totally unintelligible. Use convoluted language, leave out the verb or the subject or both. Avoid periods like the plague. Be generous with legal jargon and bureaucraties, and use plenty of Latin. In a recent brief, I ran across this little gem, and I'm quoting here. LBE's complaint more specifically alleges that NRB failed to make an appropriate determination of RTP and TIP conformity to SIP. If there was a winning argument in there, it was DOA. But let's face it, a good argument is tough to hold down. So what you want to do is salt your brief with plenty of distractions that will divert attention from the legal issues. One really good way of doing this is to pick a fight with opposing counsel. Go ahead, call him a slime. Accuse him of lying through his teeth. The key thing is to let the court know that what's going on here isn't really a dispute between the parties. No, that's there to satisfy the case and controversy requirement. What's really going on is a fight between the forces of truth, justice, purity, and goodness, namely yourself, and Beelzebub, your opponent. But let's say you have such an excellent case that despite all of this, you are still likely to win if only the judges read the relevant statutory language. Well, that's easy. Don't quote the language. Don't append it to your brief. In fact, don't even cite it. What you want to do is you want to start out by discussing policy. We judges love policy. Then, what you want to do is cite a bunch of floor statements, particularly from those senators and congressmen who voted against the bill, and finally put in a large block quote from testimony of witnesses before a committee testifying on a different bill altogether. Block quotes, by the way, are a must. They take up a lot of space and nobody reads them. I've been a judge for over 30 years. I've never read a block quote. I just skip right over them. Let's face it, if a block quote really had anything useful to say, they would have summarized it and told me what it says. Now, assuming you've taken my advice to heart and done everything just right or just wrong, pretty soon you'll get confirmation of the fruit of your efforts. Your case will be submitted on the briefs, and very soon thereafter you'll get an unpublished disposition flushing your case. But let's say the unthinkable happens despite your best efforts and your case gets scheduled for oral argument. well, then you have to start sweating because then you've got a chance. Now, most lawyers will say, look, you don't have to tell us how to do a bad oral argument. You just get up and stutter or insult the judges or ignore their questions. Well, that might be a good way of getting yourself sanctioned, but it's not necessarily a good way of losing your case. Bad oral advocacy requires practice and preparation. So the first thing you must do at the stage is to know the record like the back of your hand. Now, there's a notion out there that facts don't matter on appeal because we talk about the law. In fact, facts are for sissies in trial courts. But the truth is much different. The law doesn't matter a bit, doesn't matter except as it applies to the facts of your case. So you will find that judges' oral argument have a lot of questions about the record, which makes sense. After all, we can read the cases as well as you have. We've written most of the cases. So really, the lawyer can't add that much. But what the lawyer can do is to help is to point out stuff in the record and explain how it dovetails with the cases. Familiarity with the record is possibly the most important aspect of preparing a case on appeal. Now, that's good and well if you want to win, but why know the record if you're trying to lose? Well, that's because you want to keep the judges from getting to the good parts of the record. So you have to know where the nuggets are hidden. So if you find the judges are looking somewhere else in the record that's not important, you want to make sure their attention gets focused over there. Now, another good way of improving your chances of losing is to overclaim the strength of your case. When it's your turn to speak, start off by explaining how miffed you are that this farce, this travesty of justice has gone so far, and when it should have been clear, they should have won way back in the trial court. Now, if you overstate your case enough, pretty soon one of the judges will feel like he ought to ask you a really tough question about the most difficult part of your case. And that's good because if you're going to lose, you want the judges to focus on the weakest part of your case. Now, having directed the judge's attention to exactly where you want it, you've got to press your advantage, or rather your disadvantage, by seeing if you can turn the judge into an advocate for the other side. And what I found really works well is when the judge starts to ask a question, you raise your hand in a peremptory fashion and you say, "Excuse me, Your Honor, but I have just a few more sentences in my opening statement, and I will get to your question soon." Now, this will give a judge a chance to dwell on the question, to think about it rolling around in his head. So it takes on monstrous proportions. So when you don't have a good answer, it will really, really hurt your case. If you're clever, you never will get back to it. Let the judge stew while you drone on about how your case is so perfect and airtight. Now, when you feel you've got the judges good and lathered, move on to the next phase, stonewalling. What you want to do, and you should write this down, because this is very important, avoid at all costs answering the judge's question. The point is to get the judge really, really committed to that question so that when, he goes back in the conference, he'll say, well, no, didn't have a good answer, so they lose. Now, an alternative to stonewalling, and one of my personal favorites, is cutting off a judge mid-question. Doing this gives you several important advantages. First of all, it's rude. And let's face it, if you're going to lose, there's no better way of doing it than insulting one of the people that is going to decide your case. Beyond that, cutting off the judge mid-question sends an important message. And this is a message you try to send as often as you can. Look here, Your Honor. You think you are so clever, but I know what's going on in that pointy little head of yours. I get that all the time. Then again, cutting off the judge gives you an opportunity to answer the wrong question. When I pointed this out to a lawyer one time, he told me, well, if that's not the question you're going to ask me, it should be. By this time, you can probably see steam coming out of the judge's ears, which is a good time to move to your next tactic, which is to resort to jury argument. Jury argument is an appeal. Let the judges sit back and relax and sigh a big sigh of relief, because when lawyers make a jury argument, we understand you have to do this to keep your client happy, and we know that your case doesn't amount to a hill of beans, and you know you're going to lose. So I could go on with this topic, but it seems to me that if you follow my advice and you still win your case, you really should give up practicing law and should play the lottery instead. But for most of you, it will work, and God help me, it has worked for many lawyers who have appeared before me. So when the time comes, you too can follow in the footsteps of Abe Fortas and get appointed to the Supreme Court by proving that you have the wrong stuff. Congratulations once again to graduates and their families, and welcome all of you to the profession. Thank you very much.
Judge Kozinski, thank you for that wonderful speech and the unique advice. I'd like to ask the members of the class of 2017 to please rise. Chancellor Gilman, I present to you the class of 2017. Each of them has completed the requirements prescribed by the American Bar Association, the University of California, and the University of California Irvine School of Law. Chancellor Gilman, I can say without hesitation that they will be excellent lawyers. While here at UCI, in addition to their rigorous coursework, they've been partners in making this a very special law school. They have participated in countless student organizations, the moot court program, the law review, student government, and so much more. They have done enormous pro bono work. 95% of the class of 2017 participated in pro bono work at some time while they were at UCI Law School. They averaged almost 100 hours of pro bono work each during law school. 48 of the students, 51%, are receiving pro bono hours, having completed at least 120 hours of pro bono service. 22 of the students, 23% of the class, qualified for pro bono high honors, having completed over 200 hours of pro bono service. Altogether, this class has provided almost 10,000 hours of pro bono service to our community. Chancellor Gilman, they have been wonderful partners in creating a vibrant law school culture. These students created new clubs and new student organizations. This is also a class that has truly embraced the First Amendment right to petition, successfully advocating for everything from curricular changes to not having first-year classes on Fridays, to spearheading improvements in essential service for women at the Student Health Center. Chancellor Gilman, I present to you the class of 2017.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Regents of the University of California, I confer upon you the degree of Juris Doctor for which you have been presented. Congratulations. Please be seated.
We will now recognize the degree recipients individually. I'll ask each member of the class of 2017 to come forward as our wonderful Assistant Dean of Students, Liz Schrader, calls your name. I will then have the great pleasure of congratulating each of you.
Shireen Eshtari. Remick Stahl. Jonathan Healy. Justin Martin. Sarah Banco. Olivia Getch. Alexander Potobus. J.C. Shamaris. Amy Judd Lieberman. Robin Gray. Julie Hartlé. John Siriard. Andrina Hidalgo Berggren. Laura Lively. Jason Hartledge. Ashley Sutton. Enid Zhao. Brittany Boang No. Monica Arnold Trevor. Simarpreet Aluwalia. Stephanie Corderaro. Divya Prabhakar. Christina Trong. Joy Chen. Anne Tran. Linda Wang. Christopher Say. And Donnie Alcantara Diaz. RJ Zubu. Alexandra Ashamala. Andrew Forrestveit. Jordan Liebman. Olivia Weber. Allison Shabbat. Andrew Morrill. Carissa Elizabeth Chapa. Jake Alexander Yoakum. Evan Joseph Ponick. Shazad Tucker. Anjana Ravindra Joshi. Nasim Christina Alisabani. Harvey Meza. Nora Kathleen Cassidy. Janan Shamaru Abood. Kendall Countess. Sam Hyams. Rahul Sajnani. Sherry Nakata. Elizabeth Hercules Paez. Buenaris Rodriguez. Brett Long. Ethan Mora. Noreen Gill. Rick Jeffrey. Robert Modelmog. Chance Pardon. Christo Fan. Christine Fan. Jiao Xiao John. Sabrina Cohn. Crystal Caldera. Eric Fan Chang. Terrence D'Souza. Michael McConnell. Justin Hanasab. J. Parker. Ian Deedy. Peter Ludlum. Douglas Ryan. A.J. Talt. Daniel Silverman. Aaron Johnson. Sarah Pennybaker. Catherine Els. Laura Soprana Deck. Mariam Bicknell. Sanjana Rishi. Alexandra McIntosh. Andrew Wiseman. Erica Rowe. Sophia Shin. Alexander Zhang. Carolyn Luong. Danyi Shu. Hania Udenka. Janet Shu. Jennifer Yunji Kim. Carlos Coy. Priscilla Maria Gutierrez. Itohan Okobao. Megan Thompson. James Altamirano.
Another round of applause for the wonderful UCI Law Class of 2017. I'd now like to call John Serjord and Andrena Bergman to present the class gift.
So to the class of 2017, Andrena and I are happy to announce that we are finally 0 days to graduation. So it's been a long journey since the first day of orientation on August 14th, 2014, which is now 1,005 days ago. And I know many of you, if not all, would make the same decision to attend UCI Law today. To those celebrating with us, I know this because in one of our many emails that we sent this year, Andrena and I asked the graduating class to include reasons why they believe the class of 2017 was special. And I don't have time to read all of the comments, but just a few stood out from the graduates today that I wanted to share with all of you. We constantly push ourselves to be the best, but we never let that come at the cost of hurting each other. We support each other in all our endeavors and truly exemplify the ability to be the best while still being the kindest. There's so few of us. We're really close. We're all risk takers because we were the last class to come to UCI before the law school was accredited. And it's an odd phenomenon to find 100 people who are all so talented and hardworking while simultaneously being so nice and so caring. And we pull off coordinated group costumes like no one else. Just ask Professor Leslie. We truly embody the so UCI notion that when one of us succeeds, we all succeed. We cheer each other on, we resist unnecessary competition, we encourage each other toward greatness. I love this class with all my heart. And I am proud that our class gift is a reflection of what makes our class so special.
Shorter. The class of 2017's commitment to supporting others extends to people well beyond the bounds of our campus. Many of us came to UCI because of our school's strong emphasis on public interest and supporting others. And we wanted to be at a school where we wouldn't only learn the legal skills and how to advocate, but be surrounded by a community of people who wanted to work on behalf of others and who realized that with the great power afforded to us by our educational privilege comes great responsibility. With only 94 students, we are one of the smaller classes in the school's history. Nevertheless, as one of our classmates said during that survey, though it be little, it is fierce. So it came as no surprise when we found out that over 95% of the class of 2017 participated in pro bono legal work during their time at UCI. But our class does not only speak with our work, we speak with our wallets. Which is why, Dean Chemerinsky, our class is proud to present you with a check for $53,510.34. To establish the class of 2017 PILF Endowment Fund. Every year, our endowment fund will supplement UCI's Public Interest Law Fund's efforts to provide financial support to UCI law students serving in summer public interest positions. This endowment expresses our class-wide commitment to helping future law students for generations to come. Thank you so much, class of 2017. We did it.
This is so wonderful. Do you have a picture here? This is so wonderful. Thank you both. I know you worked really hard on this. This is so terrific. Wow. On behalf of UCI Law School, on behalf of all of the students who in the future will benefit from this, I thank the class of 2017 for its very generous gift. I want to take a moment and thank the many people who worked so hard to plan this event. I especially want to thank Charles Cannon, Colleen Terracani, Liz Schrader, and Cassandra Flores for the tremendous efforts to make this event so special. Members of the class of 2017, having spoken to you at Admitted Students Day in April 2014, and at the very start of orientation on Wednesday, August 13th, 2014, I wanted to, if nothing else, provide symmetry by offering some very brief concluding thoughts. I recall saying to you at orientation how quickly the 3 years would go by, and it is stunning to me how fast that time has flown. I recall telling you that above all, I hoped that you would enjoy law school. And I so hope that overall this has been a happy and rewarding 3 years for each of you. I am deeply grateful to each of you for choosing to attend UCI Law School and for all that you have done for the school over the last 3 years. I've thought a great deal about what I want to say to you in my last words to you as a group. I want to say two brief things. First, find happiness, indeed find joy in the practice of law. For me, the hardest thing as a law professor is meeting former students who are not happy with their careers. There is so much you can do with your law degree. There is no need to settle for less than a very high level of happiness and satisfaction in your professional career. I wish for each of you that you should find a job that you truly love. We spend too much of our lives at work. You've worked too hard to get here to settle for anything less. I realize this may not come in your first job, or maybe even your second. The reality of the hiring process is that of all the positions that lawyers can hold, only a narrow range of them are available right out of law school. Countless positions, being an in-house counsel, being a federal prosecutor, holding many positions in federal, state, or local governments, working in small law firms, being a law professor, being a judge requires some experience. Be prepared to change jobs if you're not in a job that you love. You have entered a profession that is endlessly challenging, that offers the chance to help people when they are most in need, and that gives you the ability to make your community and the world a better place. Please do this for me. At regular intervals, pause and ask yourself whether you're happy with your career. Are you remaining true to why you came to law school in the first place? Second, make a difference. I know this is what commencement speakers and deans at commencement always say, but it feels different to me today. You are the first class to graduate since the election of November 2016. My sense is that now, more than ever, society is going to need lawyers to uphold the rule of law and to ensure justice. I do not want this to sound partisan. Some of you undoubtedly were pleased with the outcome of the November 2016 election. I implore you to use your talents to help achieve the goals that caused you to desire this result. The election of President Trump reflects deep dissatisfaction with our institutions. Use your talents to make them better. Many of you, I know, were despondent at the results of the November 2016 election. But you must not give up hope. A look at the sweep of American history shows enormous gains in freedom and equality. To pick a single example, it is while you were in law school that gays and lesbians were finally accorded marriage equality. I believe overall that the future will bring more freedom and more equality, though it may be much slower in coming than any of us want. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said it best when he remarked that the arc of the moral universe is long and it bends towards justice. But these advances will not happen by themselves. Restrictions on freedom and equality from those vulnerable among us must be fought against and fought against hard. Advances will require even greater battles. You as lawyers are essential to making this happen. As I said at a school forum on Monday, November 14th, we have only two choices: to give up or to fight harder. And that really means we have only one choice: to fight harder and better than ever before. Immigrants facing deportation, poor women who need access to reproductive health care, our environment, all desperately need your legal talents and your advocacy. And they need them from you now, from the first days of your careers as lawyers. As lawyers, you will have tremendous power to take away lives or to save them, to protect freedom or to compromise it, to protect our environment or aid in defiling it, to help companies do good things or to help them do bad things. Your law school education has focused so much for the last 3 years on teaching you how to think like a lawyer and to contemplate. But most of all today, I want to urge you all to care about the consequences and the effects of what you do on people and on society. That is why now, perhaps more than ever, society needs lawyers. It needs you as lawyers. And I realize, too, that now more than ever, society needs UCI Law School. I know of no other law school so deeply committed to public service. I know of no other law school that models the best of what our profession can be and its emphasis on caring and collaboration. You are not simply a product of this environment, but strong contributors to it. Every law school, every school, is judged in large part by its alumni and their accomplishments. We could not possibly have a better group of alumni and ambassadors for UCI Law School than you, the class of 2017. In Dostoevsky's Brothers Karamazov, there's a scene where a protagonist says, "And even if we are occupied with most important things, even if we attain to honor or fall into great misfortune, still let us remember how good it once was here, when we were all together, united by a good and kind feeling, which made us better, perhaps, than we are. I know that I am a far better person for the amazing experience of being dean of this law school for the last decade. I hope so much that you can say the same for your time at UCI Law School. Your time here is done. Go now and make us proud." I would ask the audience to wait to exit until after the students and faculty have exited. And then I ask you all to join us at a reception to celebrate the newest alums of the University of California, Irvine School of Law, the class of 2017.